Welcome to Simply Sheppey, your community podcast which aims to create and enhance connections within the community to build a better Sheppey. Hello and welcome. This episode I'm joined by Anne Ball, canine dental hygienist, a long-time island resident who has been around animals all her life, specifically horses, but also greyhounds, and has recently started a dog teeth cleaning business. And I'm so glad I got that one out. I was worried about that, wasn't I, Anne? Yes. Thank you for joining me today, Anne.
Good day.
And could you, to kick the podcast off, could you tell us a bit about yourself and your history?
My parents moved here many years ago. I was educated partially in Sittingbourne and on the island. I then went on to work for the local newspaper and then eventually with a company in Coimbra called MIT. Unfortunately, in August, I was made redundant, and which was a bit of a shock, but happened to an awful lot of other people at the same time. I have had in my life horses since I was 6 years old. There's always been dogs. I progressed in my dog ownership to greyhounds. They are extremely addictive, and as part of what I get up to at weekends is I go out with Greyhound Trust at Harble with their trailer and Cheryl, who runs the kennel, and we promote greyhounds and try to raise funds to help keep the hounds.
Are these hounds that you are racing or that you're rescuing, or?
The particular pair of hounds that I have are straight off the track. They came from their trainer. This is the first time I've ever had greyhounds that haven't come through homing. Both of these, one I've had 5 years, the other I've had 4 years. They make incredible pets, ever so easy, and are very loving. So what's not to like?
What is it about greyhounds that make them such incredible pets?
They're quite tactile. Frank likes cuddles. He'll curl up on the settee with you. Kane has his funny little ways. He carts a toy about the place. If he goes up the garden, he takes the toy with him, places it strategically, does what a dog needs to do, and then hammers down the garden, picking the toy up on his way down, and is ever so pleased with himself when he comes in. Life is very much for Kane on Kane's terms. He will sit on the settee with you, but you can't trap him. He has to be when he feels he wants to do it. So you let him get on with what he wants to do, where Frank is the reverse. Frank likes to cuddle and the rest of it. And that's my two boys, otherwise known as the Chuckle Brothers.
Excellent name. So is this what inspired you to become a canine dental hygienist, this love for animals?
No, well, sort of yes and sort of no. I've been taking the boys up to Jill at Jill's Canine Services, and she's at Byfleet to have their teeth cleaned. Greyhounds, because of their mouth shape, etc., have teeth that need maintaining. So do quite a few other breeds, but I got into it through my boys. And when Jill heard that I'd been made redundant, she said to me, had I ever considered doing the teeth cleaning? And I said, well, I hadn't really considered it. So I went up and had a couple of sessions with her to see what we thought about it. She thought I could do it, and because of my training background with dogs, she thought I would be really good at it, and she carried on and trained me, and I went live in November, starting with a pair of hounds that had been previously Jill's clients, that only up in Rainham, and then they came to me, and it's gone from there.
Okay, and has it grown, or is it?
Well, it was doing okay until even when we were in the tier 3 lockdown, it was still okay up till Christmas. And then we got Christmas, then Boris put us all in lockdown and it went off a cliff. But I haven't promoted it per se. It's I can operate under welfare, which is what it is. And it's bumbled along quietly all the way through lockdown. Now we're going to be released a little bit. It appears to be gathering momentum again.
Yeah.
And we will see where it goes.
I'm sure there'll be a backlog. These poor dogs who have been missing out on having their teeth cleaned. Let's hope there's no sort of real backlash from that, or there's no effects on their health.
Well, I had one come just recently and I couldn't do anything with it apart from recommend that they take it to the vet.
Oh.
So you need to know when to be able to do something and when to stop not to do something. She's mortified, but
Yeah, of course.
it's one of those things, unfortunately. She's not done deliberately. She had bad advice from somebody else, and as I said to her, you need to go to the vet, which is what she's doing, and we'll see how that turns out.
Okay, so what the service that you offer would it have stopped that happening? What services do you offer?
I actually clean the teeth, as in you go to the hygienist to have your teeth cleaned. I use an ultrasonic toothbrush, which loosens the plaque, and then we clean the teeth. It's not quite like us where we can voluntarily hold our mouth open, or with a horse where you would put a gag on and open the mouth. With this, they are upright, they're conscious, there's no anesthetics or anything like that. So if a dog's not mouth friendly, I could be in trouble. So you have to be able to read the signs.
Okay, and what if the dog has any issues? I mean, do dogs get fillings the same as people?
No, unfortunately, dogs don't have fillings. It's either it's good or it's bad.
Okay.
If it's bad, it has to go. They generally tend to go across the top, or they suffer like we do with receding gums. And as with us, not everybody's teeth are perfect.
Yeah.
You know, some people don't have white teeth, they have yellow teeth, and that's the same with dogs. Some have bad, their teeth have never been good, and that happens with dogs as well.
Okay, so the dental hygiene is actually almost more important with the dog, because you can't do the remedial work afterwards if it's been neglected.
What it's trying to do is you keep the teeth clean, and by keeping the mouth clean and healthy, you're hoping that you're prolonging the life of the teeth.
Okay, all right. So an incredibly important service then.
Hopefully.
What are your future plans? I mean, you're saying that it's potentially picking up now. The lockdown is easing. What are your plans for the sort of short and medium to long-term future?
Well, I'm hoping that it will pick up. At the moment, I do Thursday, Friday, and a Saturday. If I could get a few more, then I'd do another day. We'll just see where it goes.
Well, fingers crossed.
Yes, I mean, and as somebody said to my other half, they were absolutely amazed that in August I was made redundant. By the time we got to November, my husband and a friend of ours had put up a workshop for me. It was fully equipped, and we opened in November. And he said only I would open in a pandemic.
That's some efficiency and some bravery, but then hopefully it will pay off.
I hope so. I enjoy what I do. I like meeting the people. I love the dogs, not just hounds. I've got a Spanish water dog coming next week, which will be a first, and we'll see how we get on.
Okay, so yeah, different dogs, different days.
Yes.
Yeah. So you started this business very recent, and you said you've been on the island for an awful long time. And previously you said you worked for the local newspaper.
Yes, I was receptionist at Sheerness Times Guardian many years ago.
Okay.
And also took adverts and things like that.
So you must have been witness to an awful lot of change over time on the Isle of Sheppey.
Yes, not
Okay.
all of it for the better.
Okay. Well, I mean, how do you think it's changed in your view?
I think that the high street in Sheerness is extremely sad. For something that when I was small was a place where people came to shop, to something that is quite tatty and quite sad. I don't know what you do to try and sort it out, but Boots hangs on in there as one of the bigger stores. We used to have Woolworths, they closed. Peacocks have gone, not that I ever went in there. But there are no nice stores. If you want building society, second-hand shop,
Then you're okay. Yeah.
the world's your oyster.
But there's no real retail.
People actually physically used to come onto the island to buy furniture, clothes. I mean, this will date me. Bear Brand stockings in the Bon Marche. Now, there's an awful lot of people from that will know how old I am, but that's where people used to go. And there isn't anything, even myself, I don't go to Sheerness unless I have to.
Okay. So there used to be far more retail on the on the island.
Yes.
Where do you think the shift has gone now then?
Well, you've gone to out of towns. Oh God, brains died.
Shopping centres?
Shopping centres
Retail
and
parks,
that.
yeah.
Retail parks. Where and it's out. Well, it's not the Sabre Centre isn't outside. I went to the Pentagon the other day for my vaccination, and I haven't been in the Pentagon for donkey's years because it was a horrible, filthy place. I was quite surprised how much they've cleaned and tidied it up.
Well, that's a positive that they've cleaned and tidied that up. Yeah.
But
go on.
I was going to say Sheerness isn't inviting.
You could do with a spruce.
Yes.
Well, hopefully they'll be sprucing the clock soon.
Well, let's see. We're still waiting for the bridge to be put back on Barton's Point, so there's not a lot of hope, really.
we have to keep the
positive outlook.
Yes, and we have to keep lobbying, don't we? Because if it means something to the island, then we have to keep pushing for these.
It would be a shame that they don't repair it and they don't repaint it.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
We will. Oh yes, of course. Sorry, I've only just realised what you were talking about, the bridge on Barton's Point, the one that's the temporary bridge that broke with the winds.
That's the one.
That's the one. Yeah. It would be nice if that one was a permanent one that didn't break if the wind blew a little bit too heavily.
It would be nice to have a permanent one back that didn't wobble.
Oh, that would be nice as well. Yeah. Okay. Well, we've gone through sort of some negative changes, but what do you love about the Isle of Sheppey?
I like that I can walk out of my front door at the moment and I can either go and walk in almost countryside or I can go down the beach. If they continue with the housing, I shall be walking from one housing estate to another housing estate, which I think is a great shame.
That is a concern at the moment, isn't it, in terms of the proposed housing developments on the island? They are in discussion at the moment, aren't they? There has been quite a few new developments.
And it's very emotive, especially when you see opposite the Abbey Hotel what they've done down there. I mean, it was always going to be housing, I know. But for the last 40 years, it hasn't. Nobody's done anything with it, and all of a sudden they put the bulldozers through. The nature's gone, the greenery's gone. The houses on the front are affected because when they bought them, they had brambles, nature behind them, and now all of a sudden they've got bulldozers and mud.
Yeah, and it's an interesting point that you made about the nature as well that we're losing. It's again, I think. The island needs to come together and fight for what they want and speak up for themselves.
Well, even when you fight and it gets called in, the houses down opposite Cheney Rock, I mean, they were over height built incorrectly, and if you've got enough money to throw at it, eventually you get there. And I don't know. I mean, doesn't seem to be any sticking together. I don't know. I know you'd never get 100%. I'm not that naive. But if you got 75% of the people that live here that actually stuck together and called the council to account, then there must be a way of stopping what's going on. I mean, the 750 houses on Rushendon Marshes, are they for real?
That was a worry, I have to admit. I think, sort of a shout out from this podcast, maybe, I think having these conversations like we are on the podcast and trying to open that up, and just more people on the island having the conversations, hopefully that will mean that there'll be that there will be some momentum, and people will band together. But it's up to the people on the island, isn't it, really?
Well, yes, it is. I don't quite know how you stop it, and it doesn't matter if you have a consultation; they still carry on and do what you don't want.
I think maybe this is quite interesting, but maybe this is we should do another podcast just on the housing. We could have more people on it, and we could have a proper discussion potentially.
I mean, you could actually probably have a forum on it.
Yes, there must be somewhere. I tell you what, people who are listening into the podcast, when I post this, please send us your links to forums, and if we don't get any, then maybe we'll start one of our own.
Sounds like a plan.
Oh, I think it's a fantastic plan. We need to. There is a lady. Her name is Kaylee Roussel, and she runs a organisation called Sheppey is Ours, and she is one for sort of rallying people to improve the island and to make it a better place. So I will shout out to Kaylee Roussel, and I will send her a message as well.
But our own MP, our councillors, etc., don't seem to be listening.
Yeah, that is unfortunate.
And although it's coalition and all the rest of it, and if you look at what they've done to Faversham, they've almost doubled the size of it. Sittingbourne is another one they're doubling the size of, and now they're proposing 1,750 houses on Detling Airport, on Detling Aerodrome.
I didn't know that one.
That's a new one. Yeah.
Okay. So that's
and none of it is meant. It's still on cart tracks on the island. No, we don't go anywhere. We all come on, and we all have to get off on the same way. And when you've got the holiday makers as well, when we're let loose, moving around on a Saturday is a joke.
It is, and of course we've got the issues with the infrastructure as well, as you said earlier, the lack of infrastructure, that we have. So
there is. You try and get a doctor's appointment, and there's one of the doctors, receptionist, said to a friend of mine the other day, "We have 5,000 patients." Oh, whoopee! That's your problem.
Yeah.
But you're getting paid for 5,000 patients.
This is true. Yeah, they're getting the funding for those patients.
Yeah, they are. If they weren't paid, if they didn't see you, that would sharpen their minds a little bit.
Maybe we should suggest that.
It's not national health, is it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, sort of knocking money off every time they refuse to give you an appointment.
But they are paid whether they see you or not.
Yeah. No, we all know about government funding and whether it covers what they're supposed to get. So we've sort of covered what do you think the Isle of Sheppey needs to do to make it a better place for everyone, haven't we? Sort of in terms of banding together, fighting for what we'd like to keep on the island, making sure we get more infrastructure and potentially less housing developments. Is there anything else that you'd want to add to that?
But to be on if we take it to a positive note, the beauty of living on the Isle of Sheppey under normal circumstances is that, irrespective of what hobby you have, you can probably find a group that would cover what you want to do, whether you want to be an artist, whether you want to do drama, the sewing, flower arranging. There are so many groups on this island now. Whether this COVID has decimated them to the point that they don't restart, because an awful lot of them were run by the older people of the island. I hope that a lot of them will come back, because there is so much on here. If you look.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the people of the island have been quite self-starting, because they haven't had the funding from the government, or they haven't had the investment. They've created things for themselves, haven't they?
Yes.
Which, and if you go on Facebook, you can see that the island has a huge amount of community. If you walk out the front door, you can see that the island has a huge amount of community. And maybe it's just about harnessing that in a positive way.
But to sit when people sit there and say there's nothing to do, I always think, well, get out, go and have a look. There's plenty there.
There is, and if nothing more than to walk along the beach.
Well, there is that. Where else do you go?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for the podcast today, Anne. That was incredibly interesting, and we've covered so many topics today. I think that people are going to have an awful lot to say on the back of this one. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for everyone listening. Remember, this is your podcast. So if you would like to get involved in any way, please let us know on our Facebook page at Simply Sheppey.